Whole family joining us from online all over the world, and then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here might have. How can we put an end to all our doubts and questions? Well, questions themselves are not inherently wrong. Questions are that through which we gain wisdom. Whether you look at the Upanishads, you look at the Bhagavad Gita, these are conversations. They're conversations in which a seeker, a questioner, was asking. Whether questions are being asked to Bhagwan Krishna. Isko Suraj. Isko kam karna hai, wo mic ka garbad ho rahi hai na, isko pehle se theek kar dena isko. Whether questions are being asked to Bhagwan Krishna. Whether questions are being asked to Yamraj. It's questions and answers that then the rest of us have the benefit of being able to read, to listen to benefit from. Whether it's the teachings from Socrates, questions back and forth, dialogues. So much of the wisdom of so many different traditions is given to us from questions. So questions themselves are not problematic. The problem becomes when our minds are taken over by these doubts. Or when our minds are taken over by an intellectual urge to understand that actually prevents the heart from understanding. A lot of times when we are afraid of dropping into the heart, one of the easiest and most really insidious defense mechanisms, actually, of the heart opening is for the mind to get too engaged. If you ever found yourself in a situation where the heart just wants to open, you feel it, but you're so afraid for the heart to open that the mind just kicks in and starts, oh, nice grass. Oh, I wonder what type of grass that is. Oh, I wonder this. And it's like the mind becomes this way to keep us from connecting in the heart. We're meditating, we're connecting to the divine, and suddenly the mind comes in and says, I bet the coffee maker is on. Did you remember to do this? Did you remember to do that? I bet you're not chanting the right mantra. I bet if you had a different guru, you'd have a better mantra. The mind just does whatever it can to keep us from connecting in the heart. Because the mind is the seat of the ego. The mind is where the ego lives and kind of where it interacts with us from. So the ego doesn't want the heart to get deeply opened. Because when our heart is deeply open, when we're totally surrendered, then the ego has no hold. The rational mind has no hold. And so it does whatever it can to prevent us from dropping into the heart. So when you notice that is happening, just drop anyway. That's where we practice our meditation, that whenever the mind wanders, you just bring it back. We bring it back to the breath, back to the mantra, back to the name of God, whatever we're meditating on. But we don't let ourselves get lost. And the same thing with doubts. You know, I'm a scientist by heart. I'm all in favor of healthy skepticism. You don't want to just believe anything that anyone tells you just because they've told you. But there comes a time when doubts go from being healthy to being that defense mechanism. When my doubts arise for one reason and one reason only, which is to prevent me from dropping into my heart, to prevent my heart from opening, to prevent me from surrendering and becoming one. And that's when you have to just finally say, I surrender. There comes a time when we just surrender. And nonetheless, whenever the mind tries to do its thing, you bring it back. You bring it back, whether you're bringing it back to the breath, bringing it back to a mantra, bringing it back to a word of God, a name of God. But just because there is a thought in your mind doesn't mean you have to jump on it. A lot of us feel like slaves. Oh, a doubt arose, therefore I had to go the distance with it. Question arose, therefore I had to go the distance. The example that I always give about this is, if there's a train or a bus or a flight that isn't going where you want to go, you're not going to get on it just because it's there. If you're sitting at the airport and you're at the gate early, and before your plane comes, there's another flight, and the lady at the ticket counter, the gate, or the gentleman says, final call, flight's boarding, get on board, get on board. You're not going to get on board just because the plane is there. You're not going to get on board just because they're saying come. You understand, that is not my flight. It's not going where I want to go. Or if you didn't hear properly, you're going to say, Acha, excuse me, ma'am, excuse me, sir, which flight is that? Where is it going? You're not going to just get on. And so when these doubts keep coming, you look at them as these vehicles that are going places you don't want to go, that are taking you farther from your heart, farther from your divine connection, farther from your truth. There's absolutely something to be said and something very beneficial to be said for skepticism, for scientific method, for inquiry. But you've got to be really clear with yourself of where am I sincerely and deeply inquiring, or where are doubts simply arising to keep me from surrendering? Where are doubts arising simply to keep my heart closed? Where are doubts arising in the ego's last effort to finally do something to keep me from becoming one with the divine? And when that happens, you just wave them off, like you wave off flights that are not your flights, or you wave off a bus that slows down at the bus station, but you don't get on it because it's not going to your destination. So you just wave. Or you namaste. Let it go on its way. And we do that same thing with all kinds of negative thoughts that we know are not going where we want to go. Other questions? Any question that anyone here has?
It was a question I asked you a while ago, but what
I'm
about...
sorry?
It was a question we talked about a while ago, but we didn't actually get an answer. You didn't actually answer. We just sort of talked about it. But what is it with collective karma when there's a sort of something that affects everyone, whether it's a tragedy or something that has effect on a large group of people suddenly all at once, and it's altering in a significant way for everyone involved?
Sure. So, संदीप भैया ये थोड़ा सा दूर कर दीजिए वो पंखा जो है ना. When we look at karma, or rather we look at the fruits of karma, बंद कर दीजिए उसको, बस बंद कर दीजिए उसको. When we look at karma or the fruits of karma, meaning the repercussions of actions we've done. A lot of times something happens to lots of people at once. I mean, if I look at just my life and I say, okay, मैंने किसी को मारा, I hit somebody. And then that person hits me back. It's really clear. I did my action, I hit them, and I got the fruit right away. They hit me back. Or I do the action of picking up the water. I pour the water on my sari, and I end up with a wet sari. Or I drink the water, and I end up no longer feeling thirsty. Those are very easy to understand actions, reactions. Even when it's something more subtle or complex in our lives, we can look at things that happened and kind of go backwards. All right, what's the big picture here? Why did this have to happen in this way? But what she's asked is collective karma, meaning what happens when lots of people all at once have something happen to them. There's an earthquake, let's say. There's a tsunami. There's a fire. And it impacts not 1, not 2, not 10, but hundreds of people or thousands of people. Was there some kind of collective karma, she was asking? So there's a lot of different ways to think about this, but the most important aspect is that even if the same thing happens to lots of people, that doesn't mean that they experience it the same way. You may have 5,000 people in a village who are impacted by an earthquake. For some people, their entire house collapses. Maybe they die. Maybe their loved ones die. For some people, maybe just a picture fell off the wall, or maybe they weren't even home at the time. Maybe very little happened to them. For other people, maybe they were really well-to-do people and they had very nicely built homes that were earthquake-proof and nothing happened to them. Maybe someone lost a leg. They became handicapped. Life was saved, but they lost use of their leg. As many people as there were in that earthquake, there's that many different experiences. Somebody has the money to fix the house. Somebody doesn't have the money. Somebody had earthquake insurance. Somebody didn't have earthquake insurance. Somebody lost loved ones. Somebody didn't lose loved ones. So one event, but actually all sorts of different actual repercussions. So don't think that just because they all had an earthquake, that they've all had the collective karmic fruit happen to them. They actually all had very different experiences, caused by an earthquake, but very different experiences. Like, we all just came from the Ganga Aarti. So maybe there were I don't know, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, whatever it may have been, people there. Well, on the one hand, you could say, well, did we all do something really good in a past life or earlier this life, due to which we all got this collective karma to be together and have arti? Well, we all ended up there in very different ways, but we also all had very different experiences there. Some people are sitting in the arti with their hearts wide open, connecting to the divine, feeling one with God, really listening to the words that are being sung, the words that are being chanted, the words that are being spoken, letting them in, changing their lives. Maybe somebody else is sitting there thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I'm not eating pizza. God, I wish we had just gone for pizza instead of coming. It's so crowded, I can't even leave. Am I going to get my pizza tonight? So one experience, the arti, but completely different karmic experiences. One person is having enlightenment and transformation. Another person's dreaming about pizza. So yes, on the one hand, there can be collective threads. It's not so much collective karma because we're all on different paths, but the threads of each of our incarnations weave together. So if you look, for example, we look at the Ramayana, let's say, and we look at Bhagwan Ram getting sent off into the forest. Well, him getting sent off into the forest, we can trace karmically back, at least as far as Shravan Kumar, his parents, who cursed King Dashrath long before Bhagwan Ram was born. But what about Sita Ma's karma? What about Lakshman's? What about Ravana's? What about Shurpanaka's? What about each of their karmic threads that wove together? So it wasn't that in some past life, every single one of them were together in some role that deemed that in this very life, this exact thing would happen. Each of them had separate but intersecting karmic threads that brought them into the same place at the same time, and that deemed that each of them would have their own outcome, their own experience. Even two people who die, you could even say, well, okay, two people who have the same outcome. Earthquake happens, they both die. Well, one may die as a young child, done with all of their karmic debts in their past life, except for just a little bit left, due to which they needed only to live for 5 or 6 years this lifetime. Finish a couple of things and then their debts were over, and so they died. But they died along with their grandmother or grandfather who was 80 or 85. Completely different karmic experience. Who still maybe has a lot more karmic work to do, but needs a new body to be able to do it. Two people, same situation, maybe they were even sitting right next to each other on the couch. Same earthquake, same house that collapsed, both die. But nonetheless, the karmic experience was very different for both of them. So when we look at what we call destiny, that kind of sum of karma, we can say, yes, they're all woven together into a tapestry of destiny. But the threads come from different places. They're going different places. And even in that moment, they're having very different experiences. Other questions? Any other questions? Ah, okay, yes. Namaste.
Actually, my question is that it is usually said and we heard that whatever happens, it is destined to happen. So, is there any way that we can change what is written in our destiny?
Beautiful. Absolutely, you can change your destiny. You cannot change the destiny of this moment. When I was growing up, when I was very young, much younger even than you, there was a TV show called Bewitched. And in Bewitched, there was a little girl, about this age, named Tabitha. And Tabitha would rub her nose, and she could make things happen. And I remember that I and all of my friends, we always used to wish that we could be Tabitha, and we'd pretend that we would rub our nose and make things happen. Now, you cannot rub your nose and suddenly be somewhere else in this moment. You can't be in Paris, or be in Italy, or even be in Delhi, or be in a pizza restaurant. You're right here, right now. You can't look different. You can't rewind history. There's no do-over button in life. In this moment, this is your destiny, unchangeable. However, where you're going to be 10 minutes from now, an hour from now, a week from now, a year from now, 10 years from now, next life, well, that's all in your hands. There is some impact, of course, upon it from the past things you've already done. But those things combine with what you do right now to create your future destiny. So if you want to write your destiny for tomorrow, you can, right now. If you want to write your destiny for next year, you can. You have all the power to be able to do that. You've just got to exercise that. You've got to know, I've got the power. The problem with most of us is we live very robotically. What I do today is exactly what I did yesterday. What I do today and tomorrow is exactly what I've been doing for many years. It's exactly what my parents did. It's exactly what everybody I know does. And we just move on like robots. So if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to keep getting what you've always gotten. But if you change what you do, or even if you just change how you think, then everything starts to change. And this is the great power that you have. The reason a lot of us don't change is we feel stuck. We've got self-identities. We think these are my skills, these are my abilities, these are my opportunities. I'm not rich enough or smart enough or beautiful enough or successful enough or popular enough or capable enough to do these things that I envision, that I dream of. And so we don't even try. But if you're going to make something happen, you've got to take the first step. If I want to get to the banks of Ganga, I've got to get off my rear end. I've got to stand up. I've got to put one foot in front of the other, right? I might have a dream of a bath in Ganga. But if I don't get off my rear end, if I don't stand up, if I don't put one foot in front of the other, it's never going to happen. And maybe I tell myself, well, I'm not blessed enough, I'm not good enough. Nobody I know's ever had a bath in Ganga. Only people who are much more blessed, much better, much different, more different than I am. It's for them. And so then we don't even stand up. Then we just keep sitting here. You are the one to make the change. You are the one to be able to make things different in your life. But along with that, what you've got to also realize is that our destiny is just as much about how we think about what we are doing and what we have as actually what we have and what we're doing. So for example, let's say you want to create the destiny of being really happy. Okay, that's a good destiny to create, right? Does anybody not want to be really happy? Obviously, we all want to be. So if I say, I'm going to create a destiny of happiness, what am I going to do? Well, in order to be happy, I better have a lot of money. So, okay, starting tonight, I'm going to figure out how to make a lot of money. And I'm going to stop meditating, and I'm going to stop doing yoga, and I'm going to stop doing the things that I enjoy so that I can focus on figuring out how to make money. Time is money. And I'm just going to focus only on making money. Well, there's a very good chance that you will make money. Because that which you put your mind to and your attention and your intention on, usually you can manifest it. Usually you can make it happen. But is that money really going to bring you happiness? It's actually much more likely that you would manifest your destiny of happiness, not by changing what you do to make more money so that you can buy that happiness, but rather simply to change how you think about what you already have, and to realize that even without having more, you actually can be happy. That it's not that you have to change what you wear, what you own, what you do, who you do it with, but that you actually just have to change the way you think about it. That was one of the things that impressed and touched me so much in India compared to America, was how people think about what they have. So many people I met who have significantly less than Western standards of poverty, we would say they are poor. But if you said to them, you're poor, they would say, no. Hum garib nahi hai, we are not poor. Maybe those people are poor, but we are not poor. We have enough. Their felt sense experience is not of poverty. And they're actually much happier than a lot of people whose felt sense experience is of lack, even though they have more. So as you are creating your destiny, figure out what's the shortest line. Because a lot of us go in what we call a big checkered. What do you want? You want to be happy. Okay, well, how am I going to be happy? I'm going to make a lot of money. In order to make a lot of money, I've got to do this and this. It's that great story of the businessman who goes on holiday to this sweet little town on the banks of the ocean. And one day he's sitting under a tree looking out at the ocean, and he notices a local man also sitting under the tree next to him. And he says to the local man, "What are you doing?" And the man says, "I'm having a nap under the tree." And the businessman says, "What do you do?" And the guy says, "I'm a fisherman." Businessman says, "Then why aren't you fishing?" And the fisherman says, "Well, I already did my fishing in the morning. Go out in the morning, get as much fish as I need for the day, bring it home, feed the family, take a little bit into the market and exchange it for, some fruits and vegetables and whatnot, and have a nap under the tree in the afternoons. And the businessman says, "Oh my God, you are doing this all wrong. Chalo, I will explain to you what to do. You need to start fishing all day long, catch a lot more fish, then you can sell all of those fish in the marketplace, make a bunch of money, and with that money you can buy more fishing boats. And with those fishing boats you can get even more fish, make more money, hire people to do the fishing for you." And the fisherman says, "Wo to bahut bada chakkar hai. It's a very big headache. And then once I have a fleet of fishing boats and hundreds of people running my fishing boats, then what?" And the businessman says, "That's the key. Then you will be able to have your lunch every day with your family, nap under the tree in the afternoon, sit on the banks of the ocean, watch the sunset, and live a relaxed life." The fisherman said, "Well, to main abhi se kar raha hu. That's what I'm doing right now." So I love that story because most of us think like the businessman thinks. Oh, you want to be happy? Chalo, here is the way that it works. First you do this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and you do the whole chakkar, and at the end you will be happy. But as you are creating your destiny, ask yourself, what's the shortest distance between these 2 points, right? They always say in mathematics, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, not a circle. From where I am right now to where I want to be. And I'm not going to tell you that your destiny of choice has to be happiness. That's up to you. I'm not the destiny police. You decide what destiny you want. But once you've decided what it is, ask yourself, what is the shortest distance? Do you want to be one with the divine? Do you want to experience moksha, enlightenment, samadhi, that divine bliss, that self-realization or God realization? Do you want to have a mansion? Do you want to have 5 cars? Do you want to have the neighbors jealous of you? Do you want to have the most number of followers on TikTok of anybody you know? Right? I mean, you get to decide what you want. But spend some time really figuring out what is that ultimate destiny I want, and what is the shortest distance from where I am to there, so that you don't end up going through this whole chakkar to finally get there. And then from right now, just start creating that. Putting one foot in front of the other, getting closer and closer and closer. Doing that which brings you closer. Shedding the layers of that which you are not. Offering yourself, surrendering yourself fully. Because here's the other beautiful aspect. In many cases, the shortest line is just full surrender to God. God knows where your destiny is. God knows what you need. That's why you're here. God knows everything. So that's also if you are a devotee of God. In many cases, that's the shortest and easiest line, is just fully surrender to the divine at your feet. Use me. Guide my path. Show me the way. Thy will be done. And then you surrender. Whatever happens, you know it's prasad. So that's another way to do it. If you are a devotee of God. Beautiful. Have a beautiful rest of your evening. A beautiful morning and day to our family joining from all over the world. I look so forward to being together with you all again tomorrow. Tonight we got a little late in starting. Aarti went a little bit later than usual. I hope you all join us for the Aarti. Because it's exquisitely beautiful and incredibly powerful. But also so then, of course, you'll know exactly when satsang's going to start. But usually we do start a little bit earlier when things end earlier and on time. But either way, join us for the sacred Aarti, and then just as it ends, come in here with us. And so